Essential series. Lesson 7 is called
Finding Our Mission in His Mission.
Are you mic'd?
Yes.
There you are. Okay, so as Arjuna became confused about his duty on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, sooner or later we all become confused on the battlefield of life. Have you ever experienced confusion?
Yes.
You bet. This world is designed to confuse us. Hence the Bhagavad Gita's timeless appeal. To find our mission in Srila Prabhupada's mission, let's first get garlanded. Jai Prabhupada. To find our mission in Srila Prabhupada's mission, let's first look at the challenge of knowing who we are and what our duty is. All right? Can you see that?
Know thyself, I cannot.
I can.
Ah, yeah.
Know the unexamined life is not worth living.
Know thyself. Yeah.
Oh.
So, these are famous. Have you ever heard of this? Know thyself. You ever heard of Socrates?
Yes.
Okay. Know thyself, the philosopher Socrates admonished his students, for the unexamined life is not worth living. That's a famous painting, by the way, The Death of Socrates. He's willingly drinking the hemlock. He's been sentenced to death. And who am I? Immortal soul, Socrates asserted. When the Athenian court sentenced him to death for disrespecting the gods, the sophists, and the epicures of ancient Greece, Socrates was unafraid. So there's somebody at his side there, and he's saying, "How shall we bury you?" a tearful friend asked. "Any way you like," Socrates replied. "That is, if you can catch me and I don't slip through your fingers." Somebody was taking notes, that's why we know what he said. Because he lived 70 years and he said all he had to say and he was ready to go. He didn't care. He knew he wasn't going to end when the body ended. Srila Prabhupada appreciated that Socrates was fearless in the face of death because he knew he was imperishable spirit, not a perishable body. Nearly 2 millennia later, so what's a millennium? A millennium, you know Latin? It's 2,000 years. A millennium is 1,000 years. Nearly 2 millennia later, so that was roughly 400 BC. So now look on the right. There's Shakespeare. Now another famous quote, self, appeared in Shakespeare's Hamlet. And there's a quote from a character in Hamlet. Quote, can you read that?
This above all, to thine own self be true.
Yes. Polonius advised Laertes, but it was one's worldly interests, not the immortal soul, that Polonius had in mind, an earthbound self. So with Socrates, you get the idea of self being spirit. Then, nearly 2,000 years later, Kali Yuga is advancing, and you get an idea that it's some mental construct, some mental idea. You can take care of your self-interest in terms of the world. The downgrade continues today with Self Magazine, for example. You get Self Magazine here? You ever seen that in the supermarkets? We have this thing called Self magazine. For example, displaying well-toned bodies as the self. That's what Self magazine is promoting. Some pretty girl, with her showing off her figure, or some guy with muscles. And yet to think of the body as the self, to forever compete to satisfy the body's demands, and then simply to die, is no better than polished animal life. Our human capacity for higher consciousness should tell us something. We have a higher calling, not just eating, sleeping, and mating and defending. And
Why is it so difficult to know who we are and what our duty is?
and I call this next section mixed up. In Vedic times, different classes of human beings were born and raised to cooperate, to serve the Supreme. Lacking that spiritual focus, today's social classes often conflict. And today's individuals are often conflicted. As Prabhupada told the World Health Organization in 1974, such a population is called Varna Sankara, mixed population. In the Gita, it's unwanted population, but Prabhupada in this context, addressing the WHO, he said mixed population, unquote. In a word, mixed up. Small wonder that professions like life coaching and occupational therapy have become so popular. To understand who we are and what our duty is, we moderns, typically unconnected to a culture of self-realization, need help. In a spiritual society, the first help are spiritual parents.
First helpers, spiritual parents.
I was so happy to find this. This is obviously a devotee. She's reading a children's Krishna book to her little baby. Spiritual parents. According to the Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.18, we should not become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod unless we can deliver our, quote, dependence from the path of repeated birth and death. Anybody know the verse? Famous verse, 5th canto. Pita nasasyat svajaning nasasyat. You shouldn't become anybody who has dependence. You shouldn't assume that role of being the shelter giver unless you can deliver your dependence from birth and death. Lecturing on that verse in Mayapur on February 26, 1976, Srila Prabhupada wryly remarked, who knows what wryly means? W-R-Y-L-Y. You ever seen that word, wry? Wry is the adjective, wryly is an adverb. If somebody's making a wry comment, it's witty and it's very, we say, dry humor. It means the person's saying it with a straight face, but it's actually funny what he's saying, but he's saying it, we say poker-faced or straight, just like. So Prabhupada wryly remarked on this verse, quote, that is the real contraceptive method, that we are married, undoubtedly, husband and wife, but unless we are competent to give protection, we should not beget children. So perhaps he's wryly remarking because he's facing, in 76, he's facing a bunch of Westerners who grew up on intoxication, illicit sex, meat eating, and gambling. By contrast, now I say, modern groups like the International Planned Parenthood Federation. You ever heard of that? They must have that in Canada. Ever heard of this? Planned Parenthood? Okay. Are committed to providing services like contraception and abortion. In other words, they're promoting illicit sex. Or the horrible answer to illicit sex, abortion. This is, now the next quote from Prabhupada I have, I put it in here because it wasn't recorded, but I was personally there when I saw Prabhupada say this. Quote, "This is Kali Yuga," Prabhupada would observe. "Even in the womb, they are coming after you with a knife." So it was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was 1972. It was just after that. You remember that first lesson where Prabhupada's in New Vrindavan giving a lecture on what a spiritual master is? Okay, so right after that, he was flying to Dallas, Texas from Pittsburgh. So he went from, New Vrindavan is about an hour and a half from Pittsburgh. And so he went, before he went to the airport, he stopped in to see us at the Pittsburgh temple. And it was just a few minutes. And so I was sitting like, let's see. Anyway, I was say I'm sitting where Prabhupada. Prabhupada's facing out, facing devotees, and I'm sitting over here. So I'm seeing Prabhupada's profile, right? So I'm seeing the side of his face. So Prabhupada's talking about the evils of Kali Yuga, and then he starts talking about abortion. The table's rocking. Okay, and so Prabhupada, he sticks his hand out and he pretends he's an abortion doctor. And he starts twisting an imaginary knife, coming in for the child. So here's how Prabhupada said it. "Even in the womb, they are coming after you with a knife." And when Prabhupada said that, I was sitting on the side. His eyes started bulging from their sockets. Even in the womb. Whoa. Prabhupada's trying to impress upon us how evil Kali Yuga is. That the child has taken shelter of that mother, but the mother is killing the child. Woo! Indeed, embracing a dark future, materialists kill the human opportunity to escape the nightmare of repeated birth and death. In a letter to a disciple who was a young mother, Prabhupada underscored the responsibility that comes with that opportunity. So this is a letter to my godsister, Arundhati, who was the wife of Pradyumna, the Sanskrit editor of Prabhupada. And she was a typist for Prabhupada, typing up what he was saying, transcribing his dictations. Oh, read that again anyway.
According to Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.18, we should not become a spiritual master, a father, a mother, or a worshipable demigod, unless we can deliver our dependents from the path of repeated birth and death.
Okay. So here's what Prabhupada, this is just an excerpt.
These children are given to us by Krishna. They are Vaishnavas, and we must be very careful to protect them. These are not ordinary children. They are Vaikuntha children, and we are very fortunate we can give them a chance to advance further in Krishna consciousness. That is a very great responsibility. Your duty is very clear.
Yeah. There's a whole story, wider story around that. Why Prabhupada said that to her, but this is the actual. If we have time, just remind me to tell you this story. Oh, I'll just tell you, it's not that long. Okay, so Arundhati is 1972. She's living in LA with her son Arundhati. Arundhati's living with her son Pradyumna. No, Aniruddha, that's his name. And Pradyumna, her husband, is traveling with Prabhupada as a Sanskrit editor. So she wants to, devotees have just figured out how to distribute books, and she wants to get in on the nectar of pleasing Prabhupada by distributing books. So she asked Prabhupada in a letter if she could I don't think the concept of daycare was even there. But anyway, she said if she could go out on book distribution and give her son over to somebody else to watch, some other devotee lady to watch her son. So Prabhupada wrote back and he said, in the same letter, he said, "I'm simply surprised you've asked me if you can do this, if you can give your son, to somebody else to look after. And so, and then these children are Vaikuntha children. Has anybody ever heard that phrase? Yeah, this is where it comes from, this letter. And that's why when Urmila Mataji wrote her book on homeschooling, or if you want to homeschool, she called the book Vaikuntha Children. And she got it from this letter. So Prabhupada said to Arundhati, he said, so if you find that you cannot take care of your child properly, then you send him to me and I will take care of him. Whoa. She was like, no problem. No, I can do that. So he was getting very heavy. And so that's why he was saying, your responsibility is very clear. Just focus on, you're a mom. This is your highest duty. Okay, yeah, book distribution pleases me, like anything, but your particular duty is you're a mom. So you got to take care of this little boy. He was only a couple of years old. So, okay, so first thing we need is spiritual parents. And of course, you're going to notice as you go through this that probably you don't have any of this, or maybe you did because you're from India, a lot of you, but certainly we didn't have it. The next section I call spiritual teachers. Spiritually minded parents naturally want their children educated by spiritually minded teachers. And this is all in the service of finding our mission in the mission. So you'll see how this adds up to that. Such a partnership helps children grow up to be all they can be in devotional service. But knowing what's best for a child takes time and perseverance, even for great teachers. Consider Narada Muni's encounter with one very young prince.
Second helpers, spiritual teachers.
So there's an early ISKCON painting of the Dhruva pastime. Narada Muni and Dhruva. From saints to serpents. So Narada Muni is a very versatile guru. He once had a snake for a disciple, if you know the anecdote. And all the way up to serpents. I mean, that's a wide range. Snakes to saints to serpents. Sage Narada engages all kinds of embodied beings in devotional service, yet few have been as precocious. You know that word, precocious? If some kid is precocious, what does it mean? No? That's ferocious. Precocious means that the person is, he can do things. He's capable of doing things that are beyond his years. Like Mozart, composing a symphony at 5. That's precocious to the max. But yet few of Narada's disciples have been as precocious as 5-year-old Prince Dhruva. Forbidden by a spiteful stepmother to sit on the lap of his father, King Uttanapad, Dhruva angrily approached his natural mother. What was her name? Suniti. You're thinking of Kapila. Suniti, his natural mother, for help to avenge the insult. So he's a 5-year-old kid, but he feels he's still got Kshatriya blood coursing through his vein, and he's not going to take that. He refuses to be insulted even when he's 5. Convinced that no one but the Supreme Lord could pacify her son, Dhruva's mother inspired the boy to seek God in the forest. Meeting Dhruva in the wilderness, Narada advised him to go back to his mother and return when he was grown up. That's the first thing Narada said. But Dhruva was having none of that. In the meantime, Dhruva should live undisturbed and satisfied with his lot as ordained by Providence. So Narada was giving him a very philosophical advice, maybe fit for a Brahminical type person. Sage advice, acknowledged Dhruva, but because, quote, I am covered by ignorance, this kind of philosophy does not touch my heart. That's Bhagavatam 4.836. So listen to this. In the purport, this is one of maybe 2 times in Prabhupada's whole Vani. I've heard Prabhupada use the word spirit not to refer to the soul, but to one's psychophysical nature. Listen to this. In his commentary to that verse, Bhagavatam 4.8.36, Prabhupada writes,
Dhruva Maharaj indirectly informed the great sage Narada that there are 4 kinds of human spirit: the Brahmanical spirit, the Kshatriya spirit, the Vaishya spirit, and the Shudra spirit. Unless a child is trained according to his tendency, there is no possibility of his developing his particular spirit. It was the duty of the spiritual master or teacher to observe the psychological movement of a particular boy and thus train him in a particular occupational duty.
Prabhupada using the word spirit as a synonym for nature. We all have different natures, according to our situation under the modes of nature. But he's making a varnashram point here. Okay. As we saw in the last lesson, the more Srila Prabhupada expanded the Hare Krishna movement, the more he took a varnashram approach to engaging his followers in devotional service. In the beginning, forget it, then let's do it for the sake of the world. Then he said, you need it. You're not making it. Because you need to be engaged more according to your nature in Varna and Ashram. Whereas surrender to Krishna in ISKCON's early days often meant sacrificing one's natural propensities. That was almost a dirty word in the early days. If you said, well, I need to be engaged more according to my propensities, the temple president might say to you, to hell with your propensities. Get out there and distribute books. And that's what we did. That's what we did. Oh. So that was the early days. Whereas surrender to Krishna in ISKCON's early days often meant sacrificing one's natural propensities for the sake of quickly spreading the movement, because Prabhupada did have us on this emergency mode. To make his mission sustainable over time, in the long run, the whole life, right? Prabhupada later sounded more like this Dhruva purport, highlighting the need to serve according to one's natural work. All right?
The spiritual master will say that you work like this, that is natural. Just like in the school, college, somebody is being trained up as a scientist, somebody is trained up as an engineer, as a medical man, as a lawyer. According to the tendency, practical psychology of the student, he is advised that you take this line. So by the instruction of the Guru, the real purpose is Krishna consciousness, and according to his guna, quality, and karma, work, he's engaged in a particular occupational duty.
Since spiritual teacher, so we need good spiritual parents, spiritually minded teachers, and now we go to spiritual masters. Since spiritual teachers play such a crucial role in helping us find our mission in Srila Prabhupada's mission, how did Prabhupada advise us to select them? And I was right there in Miami in February 75 when he said this. Selecting spiritual masters. And this is an audio slide, so it'll come through here, right? Okay. In addition to the library of foundational spiritual literature Srila Prabhupada left all generations of his followers, he also left a vast treasure of recorded instructions. Can you reach it? What was that? A microphone?
No, it's a remote.
Oh, cool. Does it still work?
I want to make sure that.
Okay, I'm just making the point before we hear this audio slide that we also have to become students of Prabhupada's spoken word. Because they nicely go together, the written word and the spoken word. You get a lot of stuff in Prabhupada's room conversations and morning walks that you don't get in the books. You get practical applications, or even in the letters too, that's written word, but you get some nectarine applications of what's in the books. In addition to the library of foundational spiritual literature, Srila Prabhupada left all generations of his followers. He also left a vast treasure of recorded instructions, which nicely complement his books, complete. In his Bhagavad Gita as it is, for example, Lord Krishna enjoins us to, quote, learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, right? Gita 4:34. Through service and submissive inquiry. In a Gita lecture in Miami, Prabhupada said that the guru should also test the aspiring disciple. So here we go. And
on selecting our spiritual masters.
And this is not where, do you know where Prabhupada is there? He's in LA in his rooms. He loved his rooms in LA. He had a suite of rooms, and he would chant japa back and forth before the morning walk. Okay. So here's what Prabhupada said to me. It's a little hard to hear, but you'll also be able to read it because there's a plane flying overhead just as he's making this point. But you'll be able to read it too.
Nobody should accept blindly any guru, and nobody should blindly accept any disciple. They must behave one another, at least for 1 year. This is the instruction in the Bible.
Now, there's one word in there that you might wonder about. Behave. They must be, it doesn't make sense English-wise. There's a little Indian English there, Prabhupada. They must behave one another. Raise your hand if you could tell us what Prabhupada meant by behave. Can you think of a synonym that's more appropriate?
Observe.
Yes, observe or examine. Check each other out, you know. As I think I mentioned in another class, just because you have a bona fide spiritual master and a sincere, aspiring aspirant doesn't mean they're going to work necessarily as guru and disciple. So they have to examine each other for 1 year. And as Prabhupada said in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, too often in ISKCON the initiations are too quick. There's no mutual examination. Or the guru doesn't even know the disciple, just flies in, right? Okay. Even before the mutual examination begins, it is essential for senior devotees to ground a newcomer in our founder Acharya's life, teachings, mood, and mission. When Prabhupada was traveling as the movement's sole initiator, he was the only initiating spiritual master, he depended on his local leaders to train and test would-be initiates. So I may have mentioned how after a year at New Vrindavan, and then the leaders said, okay, you're ready. You're ready, you're following, you're serving cooperatively. Because Prabhupada was traveling all over the world, 14 times in 12 years. He couldn't be there with the people he was initiating to see. He just depended on the leaders to test them to see if they were actually qualified to take Harinam. In ISKCON's multiple guru culture today, only a trained aspirant will be able to approach initiation with a level head. And this is what the level head is thinking. Who will best guide and engage me in Srila Prabhupada's mission? Because the aspirant's already been grounded in their core identity as a Prabhupada Nuga, and that Prabhupada's the foundational Shiksha Guru, right? It's already been grounded in Prabhupada. So then you start to aspire with that idea, that who will best guide and engage me in Srila Prabhupada's mission? Initiation, of course, is only the beginning. That's to initiate something is to begin something. Doesn't mean I'm initiated, everything's finished, and now I'm saved or I'm perfect or whatever. That's just the beginning. The road to finding our ultimate calling, our mission in his mission, inevitably passes through crossroads of purification and consultation. Maybe you've already experienced a crossroad, a moment of crisis, or a moment of, which way am I going to go with this? How am I going to... All right, so let's go to slide 8, purification.
Finding our mission requires purification.
And why did I choose a waterfall here? Because water has a tendency to do what? Seek its own level. You've heard that expression, water seeks its own level. So ultimately we have to seek our own place, our natural place in Prabhupada's mission. Okay, in his Sri Krishna Samhita, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur observes that before settling our varna, our occupational duty, we must purify our nature. Reflecting on the Thakur's observation, His Holiness Shivaram Swami, who joined in Montreal, 73 or 5, I forget exactly. Shivaram Swami points out in he wrote a book called Varnashram Compendium, Volume 1, Chapter 30. The name of the chapter is Determining One's Varna. That by seriously and sincerely following the devotional life Srila Prabhupada has given us, we can purify our nature in 3 ways.
By rites of passage.
And what does that mean? Well, for example, qualifying oneself to receive first and second initiation, and committing oneself either to the path of celibacy or responsible married life. So that's a rite of passage. Second way we can purify our nature?
By education and training.
Immersing oneself in and allowing oneself to be transformed by systematic scriptural study, such as a Bhakti Shastri degree program, and readily accepting counselor supervision. We noticed when I was teaching at the Mayapur Institute in the 2010, 11, 12, that the people who came to Mayapur to take, Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, now they do Bhakti Vedanta too, but in those days, the people, they were coming there not just to take the courses, but they were coming there looking for some new direction in their life. So they were at a crossroads. And why did they spend so much money and travel so far, from all around the world? Because they were desperate to, to upgrade their spiritual life. They were looking for some transformative experience. Yeah. And one more way we can purify our nature is
by devotional practices.
Regularly participating in Prabhupada's full morning program, either at a temple or in one's home. Prabhupada's morning program includes the 5 most purifying devotional practices given in the Nectar of Devotion. There are 64 devotional principles in NOD, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Rupa Goswami mentions 5 as being the essential. It's like when they give, they just did it again in America, they come out with what you need in your diet as the most essential nutrients. So these are the spiritual nutrients Rupa Goswami says you need. There's 64 principles, but especially you have to have these. Do you know what they are? Practices? Chanting Hare Krishna, that's one. Visiting the holy. Well, and not on that list. That's another. That's important, but it's similar. Living in a sacred place, but it can mean making your apartment a holy place by devotional, videos and pictures and audio. Living in a sacred place. Worshipping the deities, that's essential in Kali Yuga. And associating with devotees. And studying Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada's genius is that every day when we do the morning program, or even your customized version for the Academy, you're getting those essential ingredients. Okay, except now you're getting the Founder Acharya seminars instead of Bhagavatam. But this is like a timeout, right? Along with purifying our nature, to discover our mission and Srila Prabhupada's mission, we need to consult with senior devotees who know us well. So purification, now we're going to go to consultation.
Finding our mission requires consultation.
Where is this saying? It takes a village.
To raise a child.
Who said that? Where does it come from? Well, I don't know who coined it actually either, but it comes from Africa. This is a common phrase in Africa. It takes a village to raise a child. So, how does that relate to what we're doing? Well, you're going to see. Here it is. If, quote, it takes a village to raise a child, it certainly takes a healthy spiritual community to raise a lifelong devotee. It's a cooperative effort of a lot of people. In his conclusion to Sri Krishna Samhita, Srila Bhaktivinoda mentions different kinds of consultation required to settle our varna, our vocation, our calling in life.
With trusted seniors who know us well.
Yeah, so that takes time for anybody to get to know anybody. So, yeah, they have to know us. Trusted seniors. I mean, parents are one, but also people who are looking at us from another perspective, another angle. In Srila Bhaktivinoda's time, family elders, the family priest, and village leaders all helped to identify the qualities that dominated an individual's nature as well as one's attraction to a particular work. Just see how it's gone from that extended family or that village environment. I mean, people are living just so isolated lives. Isolated, in their own little apartments or their own, or just with their screens. They don't even communicate much. So how are people supposed to get to know them? Well, they get to know them online, but that's not real, right? It's virtual. And very often people get an illusion about something that's happening to them online. Now they're even making, people are dating AI. They're establishing relationships, have you heard of this? With people, with non-people, with some app. Oh my God, this is so impersonal and isolating. Okay, in Srila Bhaktivinoda's time, family elders, the family priest, and village leaders all helped to identify the qualities that dominated an individual's nature, as well as one's attraction to a particular work. So we're all mixed up, as we saw, we're all a mixed bag of tricks. It's not like we're all coming from pure lines of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas like that, or even Shudras. In Kali Yuga, we're all mixed up. But still, there tends to be some particular combination of the mode that dominates. So we default to a certain nature and a certain activity associated with that nature. We're going to look at that. Applied to Srila Prabhupada's mission, we need to ascertain the direction of our service with the help of trusted senior devotees who've known and observed us over time. So consultation with trusted seniors, that's the first one.
With qualified seers of our past, present, and future.
Oh, this sounds pretty mystical. This is what Bhaktivinoda said. So this is what he meant. By, quote, seers, Srila Bhaktivinoda means, believe it or not, qualified Vaishnava astrologers. Good luck with that, finding a qualified. I don't mean the newspaper astrology, where you look and who am I going to meet today? Who's the love of my life? How am I going to get rich? That's newspaper astrology. qualified Vaishnava astrologers who can help guide us to the supreme destination. In his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.5, Srila Prabhupada states, quote, "It is the duty of a father to understand the astrological position of his children and do what is needed for their happiness." To be sure, Prabhupada didn't recommend that we, put all our faith in astrologers, but he would say things like this. Because Prabhupada said astrology is the highest material science. You can know your psychophysical nature by looking at, Jyotish means one who can see by the grace of the sun all the planets, by the position of the planets and the stars. So what do I say here? When a qualified Vaishnava astrologer confirms in our stars the qualities and activities we are manifesting on the ground, that helps us to confidently settle our occupational duty, our varna, our mission in the mission. And we should consult
with teachers in a Varna Ashram college,
which we don't even have, but this is the ideal. We're just presenting the ideal. As we learned in Lesson 6, Srila Prabhupada assigned a crucial role to Varnashram college teachers for the re-spiritualization of human society. And look at this quote from the Varnashram Vrindavan Walk.
First of all, Varna. Then, when the Varna is perfectly in order, Asarma. Asarma is specially meant ashrama. Ashrama is specially meant for spiritual advancement, and Varna is general division. If Varna is not there, then this is a society of animal. And when the Varna is working perfectly, then we give them ashrama, Varna ashrama.
Varna ashram. Why is Varna first? Because first of all, we have to understand our nature. And then we have to understand how to use that nature, even materially, to work in the world. What's our contribution to the world? Takes all kinds, takes a village to make a society work. And then when you get stable just in your own psychophysical nature, then you can start pursuing ashram. Even there was an American psychologist, anybody ever heard of Albert Maslow?
Maslow's hierarchy.
Yes, hierarchy of needs. So Maslow starts with, everybody needs food, shelter, and then it's a pyramid. And as you ascend the pyramid, it's like more subtle needs. Everyone needs culture, everyone needs society, and then by the end, you can transcend. He talks about transcendence actually, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur also in his Chaitanya Shikshamrita talks about that a human being needs to be, in order to practice spiritual life properly, he needs to have health. Ultimately, you don't even need that if you're transcendental, but like Prabhupada, he didn't have health and he was still doing what he did. You need to be physically healthy, you need to be, socially healthy. You have to have healthy relationships. Psychologically, you have to have mental health. And then when you have that, you have a better chance of being able to execute spiritual life properly. So sometimes, we practice spiritual bypassing where we think, we don't need any of that. We just need to chant Hare Krishna. Yeah, but we can't even chant Hare Krishna if we're too disturbed, if we're too not situated properly. Yeah. So, and did I bring up what Prabhupada told my godbrother Dhananjaya about the hierarchy of and this is similar, what Prabhupada said, that we need, anyway, I'll just tell you what he said. He said, because Dhananjaya said, what's the priority here? There's so much to do. So what's the priority? And Prabhupada said, health, priority 1, health. You gotta keep body and soul together. You gotta be healthy. So why? So you can do sadhana. I don't know about you, but when I'm sick, it's hard to chant my rounds. Sometimes if I get really sick, then all I can do is lie down and think the mantra. And even that hurts. Health, sadhana, and then seva. Physical, of course sadhana is seva too in a sense, but chanting Hare Krishna service. But so, health, sadhana, and seva. So it's good to keep in mind this balance and this priority. Okay, so by doing the duties of our varna as devotional service, we all have a nature. And Prabhupada, when he would meet people, so who are you? What is your name? What do you like to do? Oh, you can do that for Krishna. Did you know that? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, so Prabhupada was expert at engaging people. By doing the duties of our varna as devotional service, while following the instructions of our spiritual masters, we transcend our conditioning in stages or ashrams: student, family, retired, renounced. That's the normal course of a person's life. It's not, for somebody to skip, for example, family life, it's not common. Most people eventually have to get married. But not everybody. But to see whether or not that you can actually do that requires guidance from trusted seniors and people who observe us. There was a sannyasi who has disciples in Mayapur, and he was a sannyasi and he was renounced. So I said, so Maharaj, when you train your students, say as brahmacharis, do you also train the brahmacharis about what grihastha life is all about? He said, oh yes. Because a lot of them, they don't know if they're going to stay brahmachari like that. And so the ones that are really fit to stay on that kind of renounced path, they thank, Maharaj says, they thank me for really, reminding me, educating me in the duties, in the tapasya of what it means to be a brahmachari. Because every ashram has its tapasya, and every varna too. And then those who, because once they hear what the responsibilities of grihastha life, those renunciates, they want no part of it. They think, oh my God, life is complicated enough without. But then the grihastha, the people who were wondering and actually will get married, they say, thank you, Maharaj. Now I realize that to get married is not simply a license to enjoy, right? With more material facility, and you have a wife, and then it means big responsibility. It means you're going to have to, work and support those children. You're going to have to send them to school, and wow, it's a big deal. It's a big thing to be married. Okay, so we transcend our conditioning in stages or ashrams, and ultimately go back to Godhead. And even if we haven't had the benefit, this is a funny slide. It's not shastric, but I'll show you. And even if we haven't had the benefit of growing up and living in a varnashram culture, even if you're from India, you probably haven't, right? Did anybody here go to Gurukula? A real Gurukula. We haven't really had them even in ISKCON, even though we tried it. Live at the ashram of the Guru with Guru Pa and Guru Ma. We haven't even done that. And even if we haven't had the benefit of growing up and living in a varnashram culture, to find our mission in Srila Prabhupada's mission, we can always ask ourselves a few pointed questions. So here's a funny slide. Okay, the guy's asking himself a question, and the girl's and they're both asking the same questions. So, Subhadra?
If I had all the money I needed, what would I do?
Because, okay, I'll just click.
If I had all the time I needed, what would I do?
Time and money are the big, everybody's chasing money and everybody's being chased by time too.
To what specific service am I most drawn and forget time doing it?
The answer to any of the above questions may give us a hint of our ultimate calling in Srila Prabhupada's mission. Because very often people are, like, I don't know about in Canada, but in America, a lot of people who work, I'm not talking about devotees, anybody, they don't like what they're doing. They're just doing it to pay the bills. And they're not really situated according to they're not working according to their nature. But what if they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth? What if they had all the money they needed? What would they do? And then time. Oh yeah, Prabhu, I'd love to go back to school to learn how to be this and that, and then, but no time, I'm just hooked in. But what if you had all the time? What if you you had all the time you needed? What would you do? So sometimes, the time and money excuses are just excuses to avoid looking at what our real nature is. What is our, we're afraid of who we are even, what we might find. So as devotees, to get a clue, is the third one especially. Think of what specific service am I most drawn? And the more specific you can be, the more you might get a clue about what your ultimate mission in the mission is. And that mission will evolve. Like when I was a young brahmachari, the last thing I thought that was that someday, when I'm old and can't dance as much as I used to, what will I be doing? If somebody told me I'd be traveling around the world with Founderacharya seminars, I'd be, huh? Yeah. Because now I've been a brahmachari. I tried marriage twice. It didn't work. Now I'm a retired guy, and I got a lot of time. I mean, I have a, Mother Sundamini in Tucson. She's engaging me. She won't let me out. Only twice a year she lets me out. Because I'm the oldest guy there, so she depends on me to help. So that's something to think about. Sometimes it's not. I want to do Q&A, so we don't have time to do it. But think about that. Sometimes when there isn't more time, then I go around the room and I say, "So what's your favorite service, Prabhu, Mataji? What are you doing? What is it? It's so you that you forget time. It's really your calling. Well, maybe that's more what you should be doing." All right. Above all, absorbing ourselves in the life, teachings, mood, and mission of our beloved Founderacharya, with the intent to cooperatively serve, if that's really our motive, is the perfect foundation for making our best contribution to Srila Prabhupada's mission. As singular means unique, and selfless as Prabhupada's own life was, his divine grace would be happy simply to see everyone do what they like to do for Krishna. And I back that up with a quote from a purport.
Let's be all we can be in our Founderacharya's mission. One should try to engage in the service of the Lord, everything for which one has specific attraction. That is the way of peace and prosperity, and that is the remedial measure for all the miseries of the material existence.
He just wants us to be happy, and then part of that, being happy, is just, as Prabhupada says, we should serve according to something that we're attracted to doing. Like an artist, or a builder, or whatever your thing is. Krishna designs it like that, so society can have all people it needs. Okay, and now we're going to go to the learning outcomes. Subhadra.
Lesson 7. Finding our mission in His mission. Learning outcomes. By now, we should be able to.
And I've only got one lesson of student notes to make, so you're all going to have a nice file where you're being reminded of the points.
Recall why Srila Prabhupada appreciated Socrates.
Socrates.
What was it?
Socrates.
Okay. Identify the highest responsibility of parents toward their children. Explain the importance of training children according to their particular spirit. Identify the mutual responsibility of the prospective guru and aspiring disciple. Identify 3 ways we can purify our nature to help settle our varna. Identify 3 people we may consult to help settle our varna. Describe the perfect foundation for making our best contribution to Srila Prabhupada's mission.
Okay, it's a race to put your hands up, right? Okay, Jaya has a question. Oh, wait a minute. I got to do this thing again, right? Before I forget. Transition. So tomorrow is lesson, and tomorrow we're going to start Prayojana, Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday, depending on. We're either going to do the last lesson Sunday or Wednesday, depending on some feedback we get from who? Okay. Okay, so we're going to start deepening our love for Srila Prabhupada tomorrow. Transition. As we find and develop our mission to help our founder Acharya re-spiritualize human society, our love for him will naturally deepen. At the same time, in the next lesson, we'll look at why that intimacy with Srila Prabhupada we long for can seem so elusive. All right. Okay. So Jai Prabhu.
So right now ISKCON is booming like anything, like it's expanding.
It is?
I think so. It's like
That's because you're living in a booming place. Depends on where you go in ISKCON. Some places it's really just sort of, hanging in. In some places it's booming. Yeah, it just depends. But anyway, go ahead.
so, and also like there is a rapid modernization that we see in the world. A rapid modernization, like every year there is something new happening, and with that also like our brain is like in a way is growing very fast. I don't know how to put it, but like people are getting more advanced in thinking, more advanced in doing stuff, and that.
Well,
in that
advanced, quote unquote, advanced.
So
more and more distracted.
yeah, exactly. And with that, like people come with the new interest in what they want to do. So how do you see like ISKCON can engage those type of people who are like interested in various kind of stuff, and they are not particularly interested in like maybe distributing books or maybe doing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we've talked about a little bit about this. How, when Prabhupada he stressed book distribution because it was really, he wanted to get the sound vibration out there. And he even incorporated the BBT separately from ISKCON. So if ISKCON should fail, at least there'd be a publishing house that would, Prabhupada said, the poison books are there. Poisoning, he was making a joke using poison in a funny way. So, because people are constantly bombarded by so many different kinds of messages, they're so distracted, their attention spans are so short that they're just sort of like constantly assaulted, by so many choices, but still everybody has a nature. Everybody has a nature. No matter who, even everybody's on social media, but still everybody has a nature. And they need help discovering that nature, and also they need help understanding who they are. So people aren't becoming more advanced because they're not understanding who they are. Like that whole thing from Socrates to Shakespeare to Self magazine. Everybody's in the bodily concept of life. Yeah. So first, devotees as first responders. If you're a social media warrior for Krishna, I don't know if you are. A lot of devotees preach online. They find people in chat rooms, and they might say something provocative just to get people. Huh? What'd you mean? If I'm not my body, whose body am I? So devotees are like commandos, going behind enemy lines and, say something. So then you might say something that, and devotees right in Tucson are doing that. I mean, the younger devotees. I mean, people like me are hopeless. We don't know how to do it, right? But and then they, come to, why don't you come to, come to Govinda's. Come for, we got a family business here. We're supporting ourselves with vegan, vegetarian food. You'll love it. And that's just the beginning. So people need to discover who they are, and then once they realize there's something more than trying to enjoy the gross and subtle material energy, then, but they still have their nature. They learn how to use their nature. They find out with devotees what their nature is. So, we have a big responsibility. Just like Prabhupada wrote that, Mataji, Arundhati. So your responsibility is clear. You have to take care of your boy, your little boy. So we have to take care of people. We have to find the people who are reachable. Is anybody a nurse here? No, they have this concept called triage. You know what triage means? It's like on a battlefield. You have to find the people who you can save, who have been wounded, and they have to make painful decisions. Here's somebody dying, but that person's not going to make it, so you have to... Or even right now in Gaza, where the hospitals have been bombed and everything's reduced to rubble, and the hospitals are becoming graveyards, and the graveyards are becoming hospitals. I mean, everything is crazy. So they have to see who is savable. So that's what we have to see, who you can actually reach, and some people are just, in this incarnation, are too far gone. Otherwise, if we try to reach people who don't want to hear it, that's the ninth offense. Preaching the glories of the Lord to the faithless. Yeah. Are you a social media warrior? Do you go online and try to reach people?
Kind of.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, devotees get together online, and there's a whole thing called ISKCON Online. If you're familiar with this? This is Pancharatna Prabhu, my godbrother. He's a godbrother who's tech savvy, and he's got this thing, ISKCON Online, about strategizing how to reach people online. And it's very effective, actually.
In India, they're doing this kind of things as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Land creators.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, a lot of IIT devotees over there. Okay, is that all right?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. I saw some other hands. Did they disappear? We answered all your questions with one. Didn't somebody? Oh, okay.
Here.
Whoop. Okay. You're a baseball player. I can see it. Try out for the Jays. Right.
Thank you, Prabhu. This class was really informative. My question is, since we were mentioning, just find something you like a lot. I actually asked this question to a lot of devotees. Devotional service, we say, is susukham. It's performed joyfully. And personally, for a person like myself, I don't know what is the specific thing I like. If I go to Bhagavatam class, I like it. If I go to Kirtan, I like it. If I go to, let's say, dancing, I like it. I like book distribution. There are a lot of services, and you might be good at something, probably you like them, and there are some service you like them, but you might not be good at something.
Well, you've
how
only
to
been
know?
in the movement for a couple of years, is that
Yeah,
a few years? Well, you're still in basic training. In basic training, when the army has basic training, they teach the soldier how to do everything. I mean, everything basic. How to be clean, how to shoot a gun, how to be disciplined. They really, my father used to say to me, the army will take care of you, when I was in my hippie days. Right? They'll clean you up. But I joined Prabhupada's army. And it was, basic training. You just, we didn't have a bhakti. We didn't have a bhakti program. We just had, sink or swim. But so you're still kind of getting grounded in basic devotion. Although I never learned how to play the mridanga or kukajapati, because I'm kind of like, I'm good inside the alphabet. I know how to speak and write. Take me outside the alphabet and I'm pretty useless. So, I was distributing books and doing Harinam and, doing everything. And now, the older I get, the more I kind of just focused on what I'm good at. Sandamani never asked me to cook for Govinda's restaurant in Tucson. She knows better. She knows if Suresvara was in the kitchen, we'd lose all our customers. So she has me editing. Right now it's happening. It's coming toward the end of the month, so I'm editing the October newsletters. We have 2 newsletters, one for Govinda's, one for the temple, different audiences. And she has me counsel devotees and give classes. That's what I do. So anyway, so you should learn how to do all, those basic things. Chant Hare Krishna, live in a sacred place. And it'll come, the more your best contribution to Prabhupada's mission will come out in time. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
No worries, you're a young guy. How old are you?
21.
Oh my God. I'm almost 4 times older than you. I could be your great. All right. Anybody else? Finding our mission? Well, this is the Bhakti Academy. So even the directors, like, how long have you, and you're not even initiated, right? So all you guys are, we have older guys in the back here. We tend to sit in the back, us older guys. In case we want to make a getaway, we can slip out, right? Into the prasadam room. Okay, tomorrow it's called To Love is to Cooperate. It's the hardest thing to do in Kali Yuga. Work together. It's the age of non-cooperation, the age of my way or the highway, and you'll see why it's tough. Although it's what Prabhupada said, if we really want to please him, we have to do. Okay, are we finished? 1, 2, 3. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.